We'll get started. This is just going to be a really quick overview of how to use QR codes to share information quickly and easily. And QR codes have been around since 1994, but they were mostly used by businesses and corporations and things. But they got a big resurgence during COVID when they showed up on menus and everywhere else. That they're just images that are converted to text by a scanner application. And again, Android and Apple phones, iOS phones will read these things directly, iPhones. And basically, we're just going to talk a little bit about when you might want to use QR codes to share resources, and why and how to do it. So, common uses. If you want to do a poll with students, for example, if you are not using a regular polling app like iClicker in class, if you just want to do some type of a Google form or something else during a presentation or a class, you can just put up a QR code because pretty much all students, well, virtually all students will have a smartphone with them. Um, you can use it to share a short quiz if that's something you're doing unexpectedly, perhaps, or if that's just how you share the quiz. Again, you could use Google Forms or something similar to do that. If there's a spreadsheet that you want to share during a presentation, it's a nice, convenient way of doing it. I mentioned forms. If you're running some type of a session and you want to share a video with people, QR codes can be used for that. Um, it's also useful if there's going to be some sort of software that either people in your audience at a conference or students need to download. It's a nice, easy way of doing that, as long as they can do it on a smartphone. It's not the only way of doing it. And in fact, depending on the environment, you might want to do this combined with a short URL and so forth. It's also often used in presentations to share presentation slides. I think all but one of the sessions I've done so far, I've done that where people have had access to a QR code to download the slides. Although when it's a Zoom meeting, it's probably easier just to share it directly in chat as a URL. But if you're in a conference and you're doing a big presentation with lots of people there, it's a nice, easy way to get those slides to people. Okay, so let's just talk about how to do this. Let's say you have something in Google Drive you want to share. I think most people are probably pretty comfortable with this by this point, but you basically just click on the share button in Chrome, select copy link, enter it into it. And we're going to do something a little bit differently. And let's go through this in practice. But these are the steps. You copy the link, you put it in another tab in Chrome, you click on the three vertical dots in the corner, you slide down in that listing to cache, save, and share, and choose the option to create a QR code, and then download the QR code. And there's one other step that I'd recommend in many cases. And then you put the QR code. But there's one more step, and I think I have it on the next screen. If you want to do a copy of it, just edit the URL when you put it in that browser before you create the QR code and change the ending part, which will generally be something like edit $USP equals sharing. Just delete that part and replace it with copy. And that will allow people to have their own copies so they can edit them and do other things with it. If you're sharing slides, people might want to take some notes on the presentation or might want to modify it or add to it in the future or use it in the future in some way. So let's just go through this. So let's say we wanted to do this here. So first I would go up to here and choose anyone with this link. I'm going to copy the link and now I've got it. I'm going to open up another tab, paste that link in, and there is the link. And again, if I just wanted to share it with read-only access, then people would have this. But if you want them to have their own copies, which is often convenient, just delete this last part, the edit, everything beyond the edit part, and just replace it with the words copy. And then I'm going to open this and I'm going to see that in fact it's working. And this is where you then generate the QR code. So I could share this link with people, embed it in a presentation or not, or something similar, or in send it to students in Brightspace. And then I would go down here and let's say I want to create a QR code. Again, you choose Cast, Save, and Share. Choose the Create QR code, and you can either just copy it or download it. I'm going to do both. When you download it, it just downloads the image. When you copy it, I think, well, actually, I think it will do that. But let's say we want to share it on a new slide. So I'm going to just introduce a new slide here. And the new slide, I'm just going to paste it in. That's an ugly way of doing it, and I probably wouldn't leave it there. I put it on a screen somewhere. Um, and then I might also want to, though, go over and just grab that. If I paste it, I think it's going to give me the URL. So no, it didn't. Okay, I forgot. Okay, so but if you go back and you do the same thing, you can go over here, go to this. Yeah, one more time. Well, because it's still stuck on there. Um, Three dots. There we go. Go down to Cast, Save, and Share. In this case, I'm going to just copy the link and we'll get rid of this. And then I could paste the link in there somewhere. Now, if the links are really long and you want people to be typing them in, there's a whole series of places out there. I often use tinyurl. And oops, I didn't type in the .com. And you could paste a long URL here, and I'm going to create a short one, not going to be a very meaningful one, but I'm just going to put in a few letters. A lot of the most They will often be taken by other users. If you put a year in there, it may be less likely. And that's, again, probably not very memorable, but you can shorten the link. And now I've created a link to that copyable link. And now what happens basically is I can go back here to the slide and I could paste the URL right in. There we go. Apparently, I didn't do that. What you have to do, obviously, is copy this. And let me try that again. And now I can go in and paste the URL in. And it's probably underneath here. One more time. I did just copy that, and now it should be pasteable, right? There we go. Okay. And then you could make it clickable so that when people have it, they can generate their own link. Okay, and you do that by going up to here and adding the link. There we go. So now you could have it both ways with the image, with the link, and then just share that. You could put it right in the slides that you're using in a conference or whatever you're doing. Or if you, again, want to share a quiz, a short little form. One of the things I've done in class from time to time is at times when I wasn't using iClicker, this goes back a little bit further, but I would often put up, some type of short form for students, like a midterm survey or something similar. It's a good way to get some immediate response. It goes right into Google and so on. Okay, now I'm going to delete that slide because I don't really need that there, but that's basically how you would do it. And in fact, I guess I already created one here, which should be the same as what we had. So that's basically it. Um, any questions?
Are there any complications that can come up when you do this for, websites like Brightspace that require you to have a password, do the multi-factor authentication in to see anything or see any web pages or any sorts of QR
Yeah,
code links?
I generally only do this as something that would be available. And in this case, when I'm sharing slides, I made the slides viewable first without a password. It's not behind any sort of firewall. In general, I generally would not be sharing a link to something that people need an account to get to. If I'm sharing something in Brightspace, I do that right in Brightspace so it would be available to students. Now, if it's a link to some type of an article that is behind a firewall that I had access to, then the user would not be able to get there unless they happen to have an account on the same service. Um, but yeah, in general, you don't want to share resources that people aren't going to be able to access. But it's a nice way, again, of just sharing the information you're creating. And I do, when I go to conferences where most of the people are in the audience and most of them are there with smartphones, maybe a laptop, maybe an iPad, it's a nice way of getting the information to them. And again, by giving them the copy option, it goes right into the Google Drive, and then they can do whatever they want with it. Does this all seem helpful? Um, It's, it used to be harder. We used to have to go to various services to create QR codes, but if we're using Chrome, it's right there. So you can easily get the Chrome URL, paste it in, and then share it.
Do you recommend that we only use Chrome for these QR code generations, like stay away from Firefox, Internet
Firefox works.
Explorer, all the other ones?
It is Internet Explorer still in existence? If it is, it would
I'm
probably
old,
work.
sorry about
The URLs would probably still, well, the URLs are determined by the web addresses, but well, that's right. Microsoft's been using Edge for a while now. You can do the same thing. I mostly use Chrome because it tends, for my applications, it tends to be the most compatible with the most things out there. Firefox generally is. Safari generally isn't, with a lot of services out there. So, um, you know. But the same principles apply. And if the browser does not allow you to generate a QR code, there's a lot of QR code generators out there that you can either download to your computer or web services where you paste a URL in, it will generate the QR code, you download the QR code, and then you have it. So it would work the same way. The only limitation of using QR codes, I'm sorry, the QR code should work pretty much indefinitely unless the thing you're sharing changes its URL or changes its location, and then it's going to break that link. But on the other hand, if you share a Drive document, slides, or a spreadsheet or something else that you want people to have access to in the long run, giving them the option of sharing a copy is much better because then it's going to be there even if you delete the file at some point or move it or do something else to it and change its access. So, I generally prefer just sharing the whole thing rather than just a link to a document that might be there. Because if you move to a new institution, if you retire, if you lose your access to your account, or any number of things, it'll just go away. And this way, whatever you're sharing stays shared as long as they don't lose it. And if it's something that you're going to update regularly, they can always go back into it, click the link again, and get a new version of it if you've updated since then, if it's something you use multiple times. Any other questions or thoughts?
that. Just do QR codes account for when the page or the link that it's going to has been edited? Like we don't have to redo the QR code if we edit the document or the page that it's going to, do we?
No. As long as the URL is the same, it's basically capturing the URL, encoding it in this format, and it will take you to that URL. If the URL changes and there's no forwarding set on that page, then it will be broken. Um, but at least, as long as you do this right before your presentation, as long as it doesn't change between the time you create the QR code and the time you present it, and if people get it in real time, it'll work. And if you have a page that has, anchor links in it that you're linking to a certain part, that's part of the URL, which would be encoded. This was a short presentation. It's a simple and easy thing to do, and I generally do it probably once or twice a week. It's just really easy. And again, the Chrome one has those nice dinosaurs on it, but other ones will give you more options. There's ones that will generate other types of images, will change the color or the background or do other things with it or make them rounded instead of square corners, but they all work the same way. So, okay, well, let me stop the share and and stop the recording. Any other questions?